My husband suddenly wants too much sex. So my husband and I met in college when I was 18 and he was 20. We both got engaged after about a year and a half, and I know that's early. And since I was waiting for marriage, we had sex for the first time then, and we were both virgins. Despite all of the bad stories people told me about waiting, it was actually great after some practice. We officially got married after graduation, so we've been together for about 8 years, married for 4, and our sex life has always been good, pretty much every night. But for the past 2 weeks, he suddenly wants it all the time, like 3+ times a day. And don't get me wrong, I love sex with him, and I have a good sex drive too, but I do not have that kind of stamina or time. Last night, he got upset when I said that I wanted to sleep, and mind you guys, we already had sex 2 times earlier. When I jokingly asked him what's with the libido increase, he just made some joke back and said that it's the usual. This is really out of character for him. That's why I'm surprised. He's never been an extremely sexual person, like most men that I know too. Do you guys know why this might be happening? In the comments, Measurement Last says, "People's libido can fluctuate a lot throughout life. I wouldn't worry too much about that. But what's important here is that people's libido also frequently do not line up. This is normal and happens to any relationship long term. It takes respect and good communication from both sides to learn to navigate that. Him getting upset over you wanting to sleep after you already did the deed twice that day feels manipulative and super demanding. Not healthy anyways. You would expect that your no would turn him off, because who would want to have intimacy with someone who's not in the mood? I think it would be a good idea to discuss this at a different and neutral, calm moment. Approach it from a curious, non-judgmental point of view, but also keep in mind that you are fully valid in protecting your boundaries, and it should be emotionally safe to say no at any time. Also, if you don't feel like it for days or weeks." OP replies, "Yes, I agree with you, but when I say upset, I don't mean like mad. He was just annoyed and disappointed, I guess. He didn't insist or anything. I will talk to him. I just wanted to know the potential reasons. Thank you for your words." And Measurement Last replies, "I understand. He is valid to have his emotions about it, but it's also unreasonable to get disappointed when the frequency is this high. If you are so kind to validate or make space for his emotions, does he do the same thing in return? I mean, honestly, I think most people would get annoyed if their partner was asking again after already going twice in the same day. I don't know how you guys do it, or how you still have the time or energy to do other things in your life. However, if you're only interested in the reason why, there may not be a simple explanation. He may not know the answer either. Libido gets influenced by many different factors, and it may be a combination of things. Ask him if he's taking a supplement or hormone replacement lately. I was wondering this. He could also be getting himself into shape. When your body is firing on all cylinders, crazy things can happen to your libido." La Half Hand Easy says, quote, "Our sex life has always been good, pretty much every night. He has never been an extremely sexual person." What? I thought you were describing 2 people with high libido. OP replies, "I meant that he has never prioritized sex in our relationship like most men do. I didn't date much men before him, but I can confidently say that most men wouldn't and don't wait for marriage and engagement to have sex." M. Mira replies, 99% of married people don't have sex every night. You both have very high sex drives. You need to communicate your capacity and tell him to masturbate if he needs to come more frequently than daily. Honestly, no idea where you would find the time to have sex 3 times a day. I guess honestly, different things just work for different people. Doesn't sound like they have kids or much else that gets in the way of their daily schedules, because yeah, 2 times a day is crazy. Sex 3 times a day, I don't know where they find the time for it either. Here I am struggling to have 3 square meals a day, guys. Whew, they put me to shame. I'm going with the theory that he's either hitting the gym or taking TRT or HRT. That's the only thing that would make sense, because I don't know how he'd be hitting the gym that much if he's having sex 3 times a day. You'd only have time for it like twice, right? Unless you're going back to back, the first and second session. And now, onto the update, 1 day later. Some of you commented, and most DM'd me, saying that it could be something shady like cheating, guilt, etc. I really didn't think that was the case, but my overthinking got the best of me. So last night, I went through his phone. I know, not nice of me, but I was just so curious, and he doesn't even have a password. I wasn't even expecting anything crazy, maybe just a ton of porn or something, but I found nothing weird. While I was doing this, he woke up, looked at me all sleepy and said, "Is that my phone?" And I panicked and just said, "Yeah." And he literally just mumbled, "Oh," and rolled over and went back to sleep. In the morning, he didn't say anything about it, so I was like, aren't you gonna say something about the fact that I went through your phone last night? And he didn't even understand what I was saying. I reminded him, and he laughed. He genuinely thought that I was just watching a movie or show, as I sometimes use his phone for that if mine is charging, so he didn't even notice I was snooping. At this point, I just told him everything. How I got paranoid, why I checked, how I was worried something was wrong. And he got quiet for a second, then kind of just shyly admitted that he thought that I was enjoying all of the extra sex, so he just kept initiating more. But the real reason, he said he sometimes feels disconnected from me. He's very introverted. He doesn't talk to too many people, keeps his circle small. Meanwhile, my entire job is social. I work in PR, and I spend a lot of time with my coworkers. He admitted that sometimes he feels like I have this whole world outside of our relationship, and since he's not super talkative, he worries that he doesn't always connect with me the way that I do with others. Sex, for him, is one of the most intimate things that we share. So in his mind, having more of it made him feel closer to me. I almost cried when he said this because I never thought of it that way. I reassured him that just because I talk to 1 million people a day doesn't mean I don't prioritize him. And we both agreed to make more of an effort to connect outside of just sex. More quality time, deeper conversations, little gestures. I also promised to communicate better if something is overwhelming me instead of silently suffering and then having a breakdown about it. Basically, I love him so much. In the comments, Paulandra says, "Ew, they're all mature and communicative and shit. How am I supposed to enjoy this wholesome story when there's no cheating, gaslighting, or abuse? Not even a bad childhood or financial struggles. I want my money back and I didn't even pay for it." Honestly, I don't know why anyone would suggest he was cheating. If he was getting sex elsewhere, he wouldn't be having sex with her 3 times a day. There's only so much a man can nut on the daily. But this is lovely. I knew that it wouldn't be anything bad when I read the first post. He's just a guy who loves his wife. I guess, why people were saying that it was cheating, oh yeah, Reddit bad, I get that. But to give them credit, some cheaters do feel guilty for cheating and do increase the amount of sex they're having with their partner to cover up their cheating. As stupid as it is, people can and do cover up cheating by having more sex and being like, well, where could I find the time to cheat on you if I'm having sex with you all the time? Thankfully, that's not the case here, and it's just a wholesome story. Absolutely love that. That's what we need more of in this world. But I do love my cheating stories as well, because who doesn't love some gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss manipulation? Am I right, guys? Thank you for the story, OP. Very much appreciated. Keep having a healthy and lovely marriage, and keep it away from my drama-filled cesspool, okay? Am I overreacting for being upset that my mother-in-law and my husband made a huge decision without me? For clarification, I am beyond angry with the both of them. I know they both had good intentions, but my thought process is currently, how effing dare you, and I need to know if I'm being unreasonable or if I'm justified before I approach a conversation about it. For context, my husband is a very nonsensical, very hard-working, provider-type man. He is stubborn and will not do anything he doesn't want to. So it's not like he was trying to please his mum. His mum is very blunt and in-your-face honest. Neither of them are manipulative or conniving in any way, and they are very good people. I have an amazing relationship with both of his parents, and this is so out of character for them. I know they have good intentions, they just did this all kind of backwards. As for myself, I'm anxious and easily stressed. I've lived a hard life and have had a lot of choices taken away from me in childhood and now need to be included in decisions, and I need to feel like it's equal in order for me to be okay. With that being said, I am also very honest and blunt and in your face. I am not submissive by any means, and I do not shy from confrontation. I'm currently not in a stable work environment. Job loss seems to be just around the corner. If you stay up to date with the news, then you'll know what I mean, but I have to be careful of what I say in regard to it. With that being said, our lease on our rental is coming up soon, and we were wanting to buy a house, but it just seems to not be the time. We were looking at other rentals, and well, his parents bought a rental house and asked if we wanted to rent it. His mum messaged me about it first, and I said I didn't think that it was a good idea. Later that day, I'm assuming but have no confirmation on the timeline of this, she called my husband and they both agreed that we would. He messaged me prior to agreeing with her, and I again expressed that I didn't think it would be a good idea due to the current circumstances. I didn't outright say no, and I did leave it up for debate, but I said that I didn't think that it was good. Well, after they both asked me, they both went around me and agreed we would. My husband didn't really tell me this happened until a couple of days later and dropped it casually to me and said, "I know you said no, but that was silly." I am fuming, raging, and shaking. I want to revert back to lashing out, but I know that I cannot. It's been 2 weeks, and I have yet to get to a point where I can communicate healthily, but it needs to be addressed, so I'm going to try my very best tonight. Am I overreacting? I feel like I was just told, "You silly little girl, let the adults make the decisions. Just sit down and be a submissive wife." Obviously that's not what was said, nor what he meant, and I know that they had good intentions, but I am so angry that I'm finding it hard to focus on that. Am I overreacting for thinking that it's absolutely insane to bypass me, leave me out of the conversation, and take my choice away entirely? In addition, how can I approach this in a way to which I won't destroy my relationship? Because at this point, I'm feeling vindictive and petty, and I don't want to hurt his feelings, but I'm also not entirely sure if I can bite my tongue once I let the dam loose. In the comments, sounds like a conversation must be had. You're a partnership, and with that, decisions should be agreed upon, or at the very least discussed. Is renting your mother-in-law's place cheaper? And OP replies, "It's more expensive, which was a lot of my concern." They reply back to OP, "With potentially losing your job soon, I wouldn't be happy with his decision to rent something more expensive. I think ultimately you should speak with him and really see where his head was at. But also, he needs to understand that you need to be included in life decisions." OP replies, "That is the biggest thing for me. I may lose my job soon, and taking an increase in rent, regardless of with his parents or not, is not a good decision. I've been independent since I was 15. It cannot be expected by anyone that if I lose my job, they will help float us. I've already been looking to get out prior to losing my job, but the job market isn't great, and I make good money, so most jobs in my area would be a huge pay cut. It's better than nothing, but would come with lifestyle changes for sure. I know they both had good intentions of, it's better to be renting from them rather than a major corporation since they're family, but also, I need to be privy to that conversation. I didn't outright say no. I said that it wasn't a good idea and left it up for discussion, but they decided to have the discussion and make the decision without me. I am feeling very much like a child." OP in response to a deleted user. "It's not the renting from them that's the major life decision. The issue lies with the fact that it's a move and rent would be more expensive with them. I'm in a marriage, and that requires equal financial decision-making when equal money is put in." Moonlight Vixen says, "Not overreacting, especially as it's more expensive. Renting from family is a bad idea to begin with. I would also be very upset if they went behind my back with this decision. I could maybe handle it, a big maybe, if the rent was cheaper. I do think it warrants a discussion between you and your hubby, but maybe walk away if things get too heated. I don't know why your hubby thought increasing your housing costs would be a good idea with your job worries and the economy in general right now. And OP replies, yeah, it definitely isn't ideal, but I've seen how good landlords they are for their other rental properties. I'm saddened that with my potential job loss, we can't buy a house, but timing is everything, and it'll happen when it's supposed to. I'm not keen on mixing family and housing, but honestly, my concern isn't even that. It's the finances. I definitely agree that a discussion with him needs to be had, but my shyness to that is not knowing if I can keep it together enough for it to be healthy communication. Luckily, I do know when to walk away, so I'm definitely going to have to bank on that. Heading to my parents later to shoot my gun and hopefully burn off some anger beforehand. Wish me luck. Twilight9449 says, a home should always be agreed upon. You can still tell him you don't want to and ask him to look at other options with you, as where it may seem silly to him, it is not to you. He might not realize your standpoint. Just be an adult and sit him down and be like, hey, I get you think it's a good idea, but I don't, and lay out why you think that. I do feel like you taking this and feeling vindictive and petty is a little wild, but to each their own. I feel like your intro already says that he doesn't treat you like you should be submissive and knows your personality, unless there is something else. OP replies, he does not. He's an amazing partner outside of this, and I know for a fact that he made this decision to take the stress off of me. But it inadvertently added more and made things harder for me. I have an amazing marriage, this is a first major issue, and we've been together for many years. He knows me very well, which is why I know that he was trying to help. I have a tendency to take things too far sometimes. The pettiness is ridiculous at times. He's never been on the receiving end of it, and I'm trying to avoid him ever being on the receiving end. When I get hurt, my initial thought is to lash back. I'm self-aware enough to know this, and that's why I wanted second opinions on whether I was justified and what was too much. Thank you for your input. Canyon Coyote says, I don't think you're overreacting per se, because it's crazy to settle on a location to live without your agreement. However, your wording here sounds very, very aggressive. I'm assuming that you're in therapy because it feels like you had a very difficult childhood and lots of trauma. I don't know if you have children, but if you don't, it seems like perhaps you should draw a line in the sand here. Given the intensity of your comment, it just sounds like there's a lot going on, not just with your housing, but also with you and your relationship. I wish you luck. OP replies, it most definitely is aggressive. There are children involved. I am indeed in therapy. I had a hard childhood and hard early adulthood. I've been in therapy for years and am medicated. I definitely revert to unhealthy actions and responses, which I try incredibly hard to limit within my marriage. We don't have any other issues, other than this, that would cause anything on my end. It is this sole issue, which is why I've waited so long to have a conversation, because I don't want to taint my relationship with my trauma. It's not his fault that I have these things in my mind and the triggers. It's not even my fault. It is, however, my responsibility to heal that and move forward and be healthy. Can you pinpoint what specifically I need to tone down before addressing this with him? Canyon Coyote replies, I think you should focus on the financial aspects and really talk that through. Will his parents lower the rent in the event that things go sideways professionally? Will you have enough space in the event that they overstep on visits, etc.? Is there potential that this is a rent-to-own situation long-term? It's possible that he sees this as a safe landing spot given the possibility for professional issues. Just based on this post, it's difficult to suss out how much of this is you wanting control and feeling like living without your in-laws subverts. OP replies, I do agree that I need to focus on the financial aspect, and that is a lot of my concern. I wouldn't say that it's more so the control and it being connected to the in-laws. They are genuinely amazing, and I've had such a great relationship. I text back and forth with my mother-in-law daily. I don't have much concern with them being the landlord. Although I have always been on the side of renting from family isn't the best thing, I am open to it if we have an action plan for it if things go sideways with my job. That is my biggest concern. Second biggest would be the fact that, in my opinion, it's totally disrespectful to completely exclude me from a conversation and decision about my life and my finances. I'm a wife, not a child. This decision should have included me. The lack of control over my own life currently is definitely related to childhood trauma, and I think that's where a lot of my hurt and anger is coming from. Because my husband is my safe space, he's been an amazing partner through my healing journey, and I feel like this was a slap to the face. Obviously, I know that that wasn't his intention, but the hurt and anger is still there, regardless of intent. I did a lot of thinking and reflecting yesterday. I think I'm ready to talk to him now. I tried yesterday and got too escalated before I could even get to genuinely talk to him about it. I separated myself, reflected, and figured out what is what and why I am feeling this way. I got to a good point emotionally. Now it's a matter of wording it in a way that makes sense to someone that is not in my brain. I really appreciate your input. Thank you. Does anyone else get the feeling that she's being manipulated? Like hardcore manipulated by these people? Is it just me? Why is she speaking like they're perfect? The in-laws being good landlords for their other rental properties does not forgive their actions at all right now. Him being an amazing partner outside of this does not downplay the fact that what he did is fucked up. It's an unacceptable thing to do in a marriage, and it seems like he's going to get away with it. Really, OP, you need to listen to the comments and take a stand here. You need to die on this hill. You said it is most definitely aggressive. There are children involved. You had a hard life before this. They know all of this. To me, it looks like they're using all of this against you. There is no reason for you to move somewhere much further away, paying more rent, and then being gaslit as if what they're doing wasn't fucked up. You're allowed to take a stand on this one, and you're allowed to not be financially manipulated by these people. If your husband truly is your safe space, then he wouldn't be taking advantage of you. You need to get on top of this shit, like yesterday. And now, onto the update. Okay, so thank you for all the words of advice and the validation. I sat with my anger and hurt, and I had a therapy appointment that helped me immensely. I was able to get to a point of understanding and started problem solving. I was very distanced and reserved the last 2 days, trying my best to separate the hurt from the anger, find the root of what triggered that within me. I was able to, which allowed me to get to a point where I can problem solve. I came up with a solution for all of my hesitancies, and then I told him that I would like to talk. I shared how it made me feel being excluded. I told him why I reacted the way that I did and why I had to distance for a couple of days while I figured my stuff out. I told him that I never want to get to a point where I let my trauma hurt him, was very apologetic, explained that I never said no, just that I didn't think that it was a good idea and that I would have appreciated if he had come to me with his thoughts so that we could figure it out together. He apologized again and expressed that he sees how wrong it was of him. Explained in the moment he didn't see it as excluding me, but that he was trying to help. I validated that and let him know that I appreciated him trying to help and that I'm thankful for that, but that I need to be included in these decisions. I talked to mother-in-law, and apparently she threw the idea to him to get his thoughts just like me, and she wasn't aware that a decision had been made. She thought we were talking about it, and we would look at the house and let her know. He must have told her yes, we're moving, and told her we would figure it out and let her know. She said she would help me with getting the kids to school 30 minutes away for the last month of school so they don't have to switch schools so close to the end of the year, which was a major concern for me. I feel reassured there and very happy to know my assumptions of her not doing things to go around me were correct. I raised concerns of my potential job loss, to which he says, "You can work part-time for a while to do your schooling and focus on getting your kids to and from, and it will be fine. When you're ready, we can talk about you going back to work, but I see this as God giving us an opportunity to let you follow your dreams, and I want that for you. I want you to be free enough to do your schooling. My goal isn't for you to contribute equally. I will take care of us. You do what you want to, not what you think I want you to. We will be fine if that happens." I cried. Overall, everything is okay and the world is not ending, and I was able to self-soothe and regulate by myself, which may not seem like much for a lot of people, but when I started my healing journey, I was told that I had no emotional intelligence or capacity to regulate. I have come so far, and being able to express myself in a healthy way was amazing. He commended that, said he sees how hard I'm working to heal my past, and that he is so happy for me. My husband is my biggest supporter, always. He is an amazing partner to me, and I appreciate those of you who called me out on the pettiness. I feel validated by my person, by you all, and I feel better after talking. Looks like it's time to start packing. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for everything. In the comments, OP on if they excluded her on purpose. No, it's okay. That was more so for explanation of why it was a wall of text. It's a bad habit that I have. I'm not upset at all. The only reason that I'm so sure that they didn't exclude me on purpose is because I talked to her and she said, "You guys will have to come over and look at the house and let us know if you want to rent it or not," while we were talking about the house and the interior and whatnot. To which I replied, he said we were moving, explained what happened, and she said, "Oh, okay then." She was completely unaware of his decision, and she's not a liar or a manipulator. She is a very honest and blunt woman. So then later that night, I talked to him, and that's when I got his side, and he hadn't talked to her at all yesterday. So although I will never know 100%, the odds that it was intentional are very slim, and that's good enough for me. I have a bad habit of defaulting to negative assumptions and borderline paranoia that things are done for hidden meanings, when 9 out of 10 times I'm just looking too hard into it and creating false realities in my head and working myself up for nothing. Helena Handsome Cab says, "I'm a therapist and I see the work you did. Amazing job. I'm also glad to hear that your husband and mother-in-law sound like good people." And OP says, "Thank you so much. It was super uncomfortable and really hard, but my god, do I feel amazing and accomplished. This was my biggest step towards progress yet, excluding actually taking the step for getting help through therapy. They are both good people. Their whole family are amazing. I'm so blessed to have them and to have my husband as my biggest supporter. He danced with me in the kitchen and jumped up and down with excitement when we were talking about how well I was able to handle the situation. I am overjoyed with your validation as well. Thank you so much." Straw Hat Preacher says, "Seems like you were excluded on the decision, and when you pointed that out, you were told, 'Why would you think that? Here's all the ways we can make this work for you and why it's the right decision.' Pat you on the head and gave you a cookie to run along. For some reason, I don't think the response to 'I may not have a job and rent is going to be more with more commute' is, 'Well, work part-time and go back to school.' I see financial stress suffocating this marriage if you end up out of a job. Not my life though, so it doesn't matter what wall you crash into." And OP replies, "Realistically, we can afford it if I was to lose my job. Do I want to lose that income? No. Would a part-time job cover the costs of bills? Yes. He cannot completely support us on his own, and if I didn't have a job altogether, we would be screwed. I can go part-time, and although money would be tight, we could make it work. We have had hard times before, financially speaking. We know how to adjust and move forward. In addition, it wasn't that I was objecting to the idea altogether. I want to move to that area anyways. It's the matter of timing and figuring out solutions. Had this come up a month down the road when school is coming to a close and I had an answer on my job, I wouldn't have objected nearly as much. In the grand scheme of things, I don't believe I was given a cookie and a pat on the head. He apologized and explained his side of things, which is all I wanted. The complexities and nuances of a relationship as a whole cannot be defined in one singular post. This 2-part post wasn't to complain about him, it was to get advice for how I can handle the situation and to know whether I was overreacting. I did write some things in anger, But again, I didn't know the full story at the time. I apologize if I misspoke or gave anyone the impression that my marriage as a whole is me being steamrolled or walked on. That is not the case. This is a first in my marriage, and although the execution was poor and he was in the wrong, it wasn't intentionally malicious, and that can be forgiven and worked through. I do see your side of it and appreciate the input nonetheless. Thank you very much. I hope this all doesn't come across as mean or angry. I was just hoping to clarify. Medical examination says, how did it go from we can't afford this to you can work less and go back to school and don't worry about it? Like, do they not know each other's finances? Yes, thank you. All the people talking about a happy ending are totally glossing this over. No, it's all okay now. He didn't exclude her on purpose. He just didn't think about consulting his wife at all. The thought just never crossed his mind when considering where their family is going to live, which is better somehow? Yeah, like, I'm sorry, but it is more expensive and they're going to make their kids switch schools? Sounds like mother-in-law wanted a house and someone else to pay for it. But OP says that if she gets a part-time job, money will be tight, but they'll survive. Why intentionally make things more difficult for your family? Why couldn't she go back to school where they were already living? Why do they have to move into mother-in-law's house and pay more to be able to do that? Paying more and having less money? How will they be able to afford school? None of this was answered, and all I feel was said just to get her to stop being upset. They will move, and he will say that we can't afford school, you need to get a full-time job. And don't forget, mother-in-law is not manipulative, even though she was told no by OP before she ran into dear husband to share her thoughts to get her way. It's all good. Mother-in-law and dear husband got their way with no compromise, only a whole lot of waffle from the both of them about how it was all just a great big understanding by OP, and it's all good now. Right? The OP needs to explain why the change there. Was it simply, I'm angry and this seems like a huge expense, but I haven't run the numbers? Or was it, I got told not to worry my little girl brain and let my hardworking, stubborn provider of a solo decision-making husband figure it out? I don't know. Some people, like me, catastrophize when it comes to anything unexpected happening with money. I have a bit in savings and I live beneath my means, but my first instinct when I see grocery prices lately is, I'm going to starve. Oh my god, let me cancel Netflix fast. It's like, hold on, man. I've come a long way, and I'll be alright. My husband found my Reddit account and forced me to write this update at gunpoint. Send help. Oh god, I'm getting those vibes. I really don't think that relationship is as great as the people in it seem to think, but what do I know? It's not. No relationship is healthy when one person is described as stubborn to a fault. The husband got exactly what he wanted, and he used his mum to manipulate his wife into being okay with it. OP, likely losing my job. Husband, let's increase our monthly nut. Oh yeah, I already committed to this. OP, can you not hear? Husband, Jesus provides. OP, so yeah, all good here. Apparently the landlord accepts Jesus's as payment. I mean, given it's his mum, maybe she does. For all we know, he'll say, God gave us this chance and wants us to live here. And she'll say, good point, son. You don't have to pay rent. As long as God is helping them out, they'll be fine. Like, come on, guys. When has God ever fucked over innocent people who believe in him? Like, come on. It's not like there's a whole book about him specifically fucking over one guy in particular because of how devout his beliefs in God were. Like, come on, guys. And look, for those that made it this far, yes, that was a very long video, just for one story to be covered. But this is like textbook manipulation of someone that is vulnerable from the vulnerable person's perspective. We're just seeing how easily someone can be gaslit and how easily they can just go through denial and be like, you know what? Yeah, it's not as bad as I was making it out to be initially. I guess I just have to accept it because this is just chill. I really hope there's another update in the future where she snaps out of it and takes some action to protect herself and her kids. Because that is just so unhealthy, and I'm so upset that this was the outcome of all of that, despite all of the people trying to pick this apart and being like, are you sure this is a good idea? Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure you're not being taken advantage of and these people are not perfect? Because to me, it sounds like they're not. Anyway, I'm upset, I'm rambling, and I really just want better for OP. I truly do. She sounds so pure and has done so much work on herself, and it has not helped right now. I hope it does help her in the future, but right now it's not. She deserves better. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.